expert.
This is weird, boy.
What's up, everybody? This is the Recharge Worship Podcast. I am your co-host, Kyle Crawford, and this is my boy, B-Shack. What's going on,
Yes,
bro?
sir. Hey, everything's going well, man. We're excited that you have joined us today. We are excited about today's episode. We got one of the GOATs who knows what he's talking about with us, and so we're just excited that you're with us on today. I know that there's going to be so much nuggets and wisdom that's going to be poured out, especially for our younger ministers who are just coming into your own, trying to find your voice. That is the title of today's broadcast, How to Find Your Voice. And we just know that God's going to just bless this thing. But Kyle, I'm just excited about the guests that we have on, man. We definitely miss him in South Central Conference. That
Absolutely,
is real.
bro. Absolutely,
Hey,
man.
and
Listen,
he's a legend
listen.
in Memphis. He's a legend in Memphis. Let's not downplay that thing.
Legend in Memphis, legend in Central States, man. This guy is legend in the making in Florida, man. This guy is this guy is an all-around great guy, man. Great mentor. And listen, Shaq, I appreciate the way that you segued back to our topic, bro. That was flawless, man. That was flawless.
Hey, man.
If I had a round of applause, I'll put it right here. I think I'm gonna do that when we edit. That was flawless, man. But yo, let's bring in our special guest, Kymone Hinds, man. What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Hey, come on.
What's going on? Listen, thank you, Meshach. Thank you, Kyle, for having me on here. I'm super excited to be a part of what you guys are doing. I've been watching how you guys have been collaborating, the things you've been doing in ministry and sharing your message together. And I just want to applaud you. I'm watching you guys. I'm learning from you. I'm admiring you. So thank you for having me on.
Man, thank you, bro. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for, a lot of people don't know, but like you were part of you're really the person that inspired me to even have the idea of doing a podcast. But there was nobody that I knew that was actually doing it, man. And after I listened to about 15 to 20 episodes of yours, man, I was just like, all right, yeah, this is the thing, man. So
it is a space. It is definitely a space. So before we even get started, we want you to plug in every single outlet. I know, we're going to promote your camp that you have for young entrepreneurs, and that's going to be so exciting. It's going to be so dope. But can you just plug in every single outlet and projects that you're currently working on and what you will work on that you need people to continue to support and follow?
Man, thank you, Meshach. Man, I feel honored, man. You get a chance to just share and plug stuff.
Man.
Anyway,
Come on with it.
really, like my burden is to help people bring ideas to life. And that's what I'm all about. I'm about helping people to take things that they've always wanted to do and take action on that. And I'm realizing that's people who are adults and also people who are children or teens. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I do that through coaching people. I do that through consulting organizations. And I do that through a podcast where I inspire people. So if you're interested in working with me to work on a business project or a book project, or if you have an organization and you have some you want to do something creative, I'd love to work with you. So just hit me up. Go to my website, KymoneHinds.com. It's real simple. KymoneHinds.com. It's my name. And if you're just listening to this, I should spell that, right? Kymone. Hinds is H-I-N as in Nancy, D as in David, S as in Sam.com. And you'll find out the information there.
Yo, and you do not want to miss out on his podcast that he already has. It's Ideas to Life with Kymone Hinds. Ideas to Life. Go follow, subscribe, and you will be blessed. There's like 46 episodes, I believe, on there. And then also
70.
70. Oh,
okay.
Yes.
I'm glad I got corrected. I gotta update my podcast.
Yeah.
So there's 70 updates. But listen, there's something special that you're doing with your daughter that I think needs to be exposed on our platform. If you would just share that right now.
Sure. So I'm gonna just tell you, it's so interesting what we're talking about today, going back all the way to when I was a pastor, first started youth ministry was something I realized, that I had a love for. And Pastor Kyle and I have talked about this. And so the conference gave me the opportunity to be youth director, and I was running summer camps. All right. So did summer camps all these years. And last summer, not pastoring, not in a church, doing a camp or a VBS, I said, I want to do a camp for teens. And I'm going to do a camp on how to start a podcast. It's funny that we're talking about this here. So we had a meeting as a family, and I have 3 teens in my house now. And you know, you have kids, you get a chance to bounce stuff off of them. They tell you what's cool and what's not cool. So I said, I'm going to do a camp for teens on how to start a podcast. And my daughter was like, nah, that's not a good idea. But then she said, she was 12 at the time. She said, if you did a camp on how to start a business, I'd take that camp. And so I put it out there. People signed up. She was one of them, my 12-year-old. And from that camp, her and some others, they started their business. Well, maybe a couple months later, her sister was kind of looking, you know, it's only so long you can look at somebody else making money. You're like, wait, I can do this too. So she started. And so together now I have two of my two daughters are teen entrepreneurs. And they're, you know, they're building their brand, they're making money, but they're learning skills that are going to pay them for life. And so we did that first camp. I did one for spring break, and we're doing one again this summer, next week, July 6th to 10. I don't know when this will come out, but my girls are going to be teaching with me, which I think is really exciting because teens can get to hear it from me, but I think they also get to hear it from their peers who are doing it and can tell them how to navigate that life as a student, as a teen, and an entrepreneur.
Wow, bro, that's dope.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
And it's online. Sorry, it's online, so it's virtual.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. That's great. So, okay, so if people want to sign up for that, how can they get to that?
Sure, real simple. ideastolife.me/teen camp. So ideastolife.me/teen camp. If you go there, you find all the information. It'll tell you the times that we meet. It'll tell you like what we're going to be covering. And then you could pay and register for the camp.
So listen, we you know, our topic today is just how to find your voice, and over this is our 4th episode. So over the last couple, we've been just kind of dealing with the things that some of the challenges that you faced when you first get assigned to a church or churches. Last week we had an episode called I Don't Know What I'm Doing, and it was basically just dealing with the Saturday after the installation, and it's your church. Church is. And the membership has dwindled because half the people that came are just spectators, and you're facing a new reality. And the reality is that I've gone to school, I've studied, done my internship, but I still don't know what I'm doing. And so we had some tips from Pastor Austin Humphreys, Pastor Rashad Burton, that kind of just helped us kind of navigate that and deal with how to know a little bit of what to do when you first get into a church. But today, man, we just want to examine just how to find your voice, because, you know, oftentimes as students, you're watching so many people that you admire. You're trying to sound like this person, or you like this from that person, so you're grabbing that, and you really don't know who you are as a preacher. And then when you get sent to a church, you really don't know who you are as a pastor. And so how do I find my voice when I first get into a church? So let me just ask this, man. What was your experience when you first began to pastor, your first assignment?
Sure, man. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was September of 2003, Charleston, Missouri, the Grand Avenue Adventist Church down there. Man, it's like the most loving people, the most vibrant worship, like literally folks dancing in the aisles. That's not exaggeration, right? But I remember I was just so glad to get an opportunity. My wife and I had just had my son, so he was about not even 6 months old. And getting in there, I remember, you know, just like I was so, first of all, grateful for the opportunity. And then second, I was like, I wanted to like just surpass everything all the expectations. I just wanted to knock it out the park, because I felt there was a part of me that I was feeling I was scared I wasn't going to get a call. So when I got one, I didn't want to ever get my president to say, well, why do we bring this guy on? So I got in there. I was trying to read everything I could. I was trying to watch sermons, write sermons, be everywhere. And one of the things I realized, I didn't realize it early on, but I realized it maybe a couple years in, is I was doing the most. I was doing too much. And, you know, I think that's one of the temptations, because you know, there are conference goals that they set. But I think there are internal things that we have for ourselves that we're almost trying to make up for things that, you know, like things that we're issues that we have. So the things that are in our head that says we're not good enough, or the things that are in our head that says we have to prove it to someone, that was in my head, and I was doing the most. And I remember like working so much, and it got to a point where my daughter was born. I pick up my wife from the hospital, drop her home, and run back out because a family was having a meeting and stuff. And I just think to myself, there was some stuff I did then that in hindsight was really crazy. But it's because I was chasing down this, trying to get success for myself in a way where that was unhealthy. So I think I just wanted to start by saying sometimes it's not even the conference, sometimes it's not even the church. It's our own internal issues, our own voices that we're trying to like quell that make us do the most. And that was me when I first started.
I hear what you're saying, Pastor Kymone, and it's interesting because there's a voice that you bring into ministry when you first start out that you also have to kind of like balance out. And part of finding your voice is muting that voice that doesn't belong, right?
Yeah, there is this voice, and I think one of the things that may be healthy for all of us as we go into ministry is to even examine some of our motives, not to question our call, but to examine some of our motives as to what's driving us in ministry. Yes, the love of Christ constrains us, but also my feelings of inadequacy might be pulling me. My feelings of wanting to be celebrated might be pulling me. My feelings of wanting to be, like have success so I could prove it to others may be driving me. And I think it's healthy for any minister, because you can be in ministry for 30 years and still have that issue. But it's even better if you can kind of examine that in the early stages of ministry to understand what's that voice that's in my head that's causing me at the times when I know I should stop, to keep going, to take that other call, to have lack of boundaries and just do too much. What's that voice that's causing me to do that? And how far back does that go?
Okay, so then, so you get into your church, man, and you know, let's say they get into the church, they're starting to see, what are the voices, what are the motives that are, pushing me here. How do they go from taking what they've learned and what they've seen to making it like allowing themselves to be authentic in who they are?
Yeah, it's almost like it's a journey. And I feel like that journey is one that, to be patient with yourself, because like anyone, wherever you grow up, the influences that you're around, they shape how you do stuff. Look at let's take Kobe Bryant, for instance, right? You cannot tell me Kobe Bryant did not study Michael Jordan and copy a lot of his moves. And if you listen to him talk early on, like this guy was actually even imitating the voice, like his voice. Later on, he started to like figure out his thing with storytelling. So his second act, and unfortunately, we don't get to see his second act, was going to be a lot different than Michael Jordan's. But I think we all have to we all copy someone. And someone says, make sure you pick someone good, worthwhile to copy. So I think to just kind of, first of all, give yourself the freedom that here's someone that I'm looking at, someone that's mentoring me, someone that's a model for me, that I have picked up mannerisms from. I've picked up how to do stuff from. I think what I learned is success is not what helped me to find my voice. Because when I'm successful, when I first got into ministry, my first year, I was pastor of the year in Central States. I was like, yes, this is great. The second year, I started to experience challenges. And in the middle of the challenges is when you start, and for some people, the challenges may come earlier, they may come later. But it's in the midst of that, you start realizing, okay, this thing that I brought here from XYZ church that I interned at, or this pastor that I picked this up, this ain't really working with these people, right? Like I told them, hey, we all gonna go do this, right? And they think, and you show up and it's you and anybody else you brought in your car. And you're like, okay, this doesn't work here. And maybe this doesn't work for me, or maybe this doesn't work for them. And so I need to start. And I think sometimes the challenges that you encounter, what's so crazy is the challenges we encounter that we lament, man, those folks won't go with this, is actually what allows us to find our voice or use our creativity. And I think for any pastor, first of all, just give yourself the permission. Hey, I am going to be like someone else when I start off. And the journey of ministry will allow me to figure out through challenges that, okay, this stuff doesn't work for me. This doesn't work in my ministry, but then be open to, okay, let me try something else.
I think you make a great point, Kymone, because, part of finding our voice is battling through our own failures in ministry, right? And I think I'm recognizing that in my first district here, a lot of the growth that I've been able to have is due to some shots that I've taken, and it's just airball, bro. And through it all, it's like either you pick up the ball and shoot again, or you're comfortable, and they're comfortable. They know once you've gotten comfortable in just settling. And so I think, even to your point, I think it's important for us to evaluate where we are, where our motives are. But there's so much nuggets that you just gave us, so much gold, and just understanding the process that even finding our voice. There's going to be experiences where you're going to fail, but if you're going to fail, learn how to find your voice in failure so that you can be successful. And I love what you just said, is that your success is not the end result of how to find your voice. It's actually through the process of everything that you find your voice, whether it's failure or even success. So I appreciate you talking to that point.
So for the person who gets into a situation where they get sent to a district and they're the youngest, typically that's how it usually works, right? You're the youngest person there. And you come with, all these ideas and let's go, as you said, and let's do this. And I have a vision for all of this. And you show up and no one else does. And you are consistently, as you're saying, you're consistently experiencing setbacks or failures. What are like 2 tips of how to navigate through that?
So I think a couple of things, right? Like I think failure is always such a great teacher if we let it, right? If we say, okay, what did I do well here? Because even in things that don't go perfectly, right? There's some things that you say, okay, what went well here is I made contacts with people in the community, right? Okay. So it's like, okay, what can I learn from this? But also then, where did I go too fast or where did I go too slow? And I think, just knowing how it is how it was for me. It's funny. I'm gonna just say this. I feel like I had two starts to ministry. I pastored for 2 years, then went to be youth director for 7 years, and then went back to pastoring. And those 7 years being youth director, you're not really unfortunately, you can preach the same sermon for 6 months of the year if you keep moving around. I remember one time he said, "What sermon are you preaching today? This one or that one?" And I was like, "Okay, it's time. We got to do something different."
Wow!
If he knows these things like songs, then we got to do something. But going to Memphis was almost like I started pastoring again. It was different, and both times, what I realized is I wanted programs to work. I wanted productivity to happen, but I wasn't as invested in learning the people. Right? Wow. And that could be frustrating because you get in there, you see it. This is broken. This needs to be done. Let's do it. And I got some great ideas, especially when I left the conference office. I was like, man, I got all these program ideas from being youth director. Let's go. And I didn't take as much time. Some things, we needed to be moved a little faster. But there's some things I realized I didn't know the people as well before I came with my program. And people won't move on your program unless they know you care about them. So I think that's one of the lessons that I would share with pastors, that it's so easy to want to run fast, but you can go, but you won't be carrying anyone with you unless you really get to know these people.
I think you have a special story of ministry and journey that you've taken, because you went from pastoral ministry to the conference office back to literally journey, like what journey is right now. And journey, for many of you who don't know, I mean, it is out of the YMCA, and to be able to make those connections in your community, you literally, again, you said it, you found 2 different voices. And for us who are going to one district to another, can you just talk to the point of either carrying the same voice from your previous district into your new one, or redeveloping a new voice in your new ministry or new district, if that makes sense?
Sure. And it's so interesting, right? Like journey, I had 2 congregations in Memphis. One in Sabbath morning at Overton Park, in the heart of Memphis, like really just like a mile or so away from the FedEx Forum, downtown Memphis, Black church, traditional choir, all of that kind of stuff. And then journey, we were out in the suburbs. As you mentioned, we met in a community center in the YMCA. We were trying to be a diverse congregation. So we were dressed down, had a guy playing guitar for music. So you got all that dynamics. And in the middle of it, you're trying to figure out, how do I share the same message to both groups of people, right? Like you can't, there's a certain volume that you could get at Overton Park that you can't do at Journey. And I think it is understanding the core of what your message is, because the how you say it is not the core of your message. The core of your message is, this is what I have to say. And I think for every pastor communicator, it's knowing what's the core of my message. Like we have like certain things that we use, like runs and celebrations. That's not the core of your message. Core of the message is what you have to say. Once you can be clear on that, now you can contextualize it for who you're talking to. You know, okay, I'm talking to young people, so I need to not preach so long, use illustrations, etc.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to my Sabbath morning at this place, what's the way that it's going? How do I present the core of this message so that it reaches these people? And I think having both of those churches, it really helped me to grow, to learn how to speak to each of them in a way that they would get the message.
We're talking about voice. We're just kind of talking about like who you are and your vision, your goals, your passions, and I think that leads to another question, right? So when you get to a church, you may have, and I've experienced it. I know Shaq has experienced it. You may, and you as well. You may have passions that you cannot really work on within the walls of your church, right? And that's part of who you are. Like you know, as you're going through ministry, you're discovering. Like for me, it wasn't until I started interning, you know, as a student that I realized, hey, I actually love youth ministries. You know what I'm saying? And so you'll find those passions as you're going through. How do I pastor my churches and also work on this passion that I have?
That's good.
This is a great question, and this is what this is a burden I have. I think, and I understand the conference's position on things like moonlighting and all that kind of stuff, right? So I get that. I'm not actually encouraging people to go out and just have another 9 to 5 or something, right?
Right.
What I do believe is, as you said, all of your passion and all of your creativity will not, the church, your job within whatever church or churches you have is not big enough to contain all your passion and all the creativity that God put inside of you. That's first. I mean, I think if we were to say that to someone who's an accountant on their job, and we say, this guy has more gifts than he is using in this accounting job, I think we all understand that. And I think we can then take the same thing. Your pastoral job really, for the most part, can't contain all the passion, all the creativity, all the things that God has put inside of you through your experience and your gifting. Well, if I am looking to find all of my fulfillment out of my job for my creative outlets, I will be putting on pastoral ministry an expectation that it won't be able to fulfill. So people that are frustrated, man, I'm trying to be this, I'm trying to get this, but I'm not experiencing fulfillment. It's because there's some expectations we expect out of ministry that we're not going to get. I think that's just plain and simple. Like that's what we know.
Right.
I think once we come to understand that, then we're able to say, okay, I have a role as pastor to lead this congregation in this city at this time. Okay, how do I use my gifts here? But then what are gifts that I have that are now part of me, you being a good steward, being creative, and then advancing the kingdom? I think all of these gifts are kingdom advancement gifts, whether it's writing, right? Like, so there's some people who write well, and their writing isn't just as the pastor of this congregation, but their writing is in a particular area, particular, burden, and it gets to reach people way beyond their congregation. There's some people who their gift is maybe even like working with marriages, and there are couples at their church, but then there are couples way beyond that. And I'm just giving some examples that are quote unquote safe. But even this podcast, think about what you guys are doing. The people who are going to listen to this are not usually your members.
Right.
But there's some pastor who is going to listen to this, who might be pastoring in a place that you guys will never meet, a place that you'll never go, a pastor you'll never meet. But what you're doing, exploring your passion here, will help that person. And I think once we can understand that concept, that your gifts are bigger than just your present assignment, and God may have things for you to do, then we realize if someone's operating in those gifts, the kingdom of God is being advanced, and we all win when that happens.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Come on, you covered something I think that is so important as well in the previous question that was asked, and it was the idea of mentorship. And do you think there's a correlation between how to find your voice and having a good mentor?
It's a good question, right? I think a good mentor, if based on when you pick up a mentor, you'll pick up some of that person's mannerisms in terms of ministry, in terms of preaching. So they kind of give you a template. But I think a good mentor also helps to push you away from just being a carbon copy of themselves. Like, like after a while, I'm not just going to tell you what to do. You tell me what you think, and I help you process that. I think for every stage of ministry, mentorship should be happening. Whether you're whether you're being mentored by someone ahead of you, or you're mentoring someone who's coming up behind you. But I think it is a good part of finding your voice. And one of the things I just want to say in terms of finding your voice, I think we all have peers who we admire, we like their style, but at certain points you have to realize this is what I do well. And I may not get all of the opportunities they get or whatever, but this is when I am most effective. I remember looking at a friend of mine, and he preached in a particular style, and his style was just totally extemporaneous. Like, I don't know if that guy prepared on the way to sitting on the front pew, but folks were like blown away. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to try that. And I did it, and I bombed. And I thought to myself, that's not great. Even though people like that for him, that's not me. And I think that's what we have to be comfortable. Like, finding your voice does not mean bigger stages, opportunities. It just means there are people you will be able to reach. And this is what's so important. There are people, when you speak, when you lead, you'll reach people that other people who may have larger platforms, stages, opportunities may not be able to reach them as well. And that's, I think, one of the things I want to just say to any pastor out there as he or she leads, that, you know, don't look for finding your voice to put you in an elevated place, just that it will resonate with someone that needs it.
That's great. I think just a follow-up question, and we could probably end here. I think, you know, there's an aspect of comparison that always deters you from finding your voice. How do you deal with that as a young minister?
You know, I guess that's one of those things where, you know, I can't say anything other than you've got to be making sure that you're talking to God and finding your ultimate affirmation with Him. Because otherwise, comparison is going to kill you. I mean, you're going to be looking at, is the conference giving this person more opportunities? Is this person getting more speaking appointments? And it's when you are able to go to God and say, okay, God, am I faithful in what the assignment you gave me to do? And that's, I know, you know, I wish there was a more like 1, 2, 3, but really, I think once you're not hearing from God, it makes, like, God's affirmation is so big that without it, we crave 1,000 other affirmations. I think
mercy.
That's my formula. And I think it's so, you see it in Jesus's life. When he was getting baptized, he came up, Father said, "This is my son, whom I'm well pleased." And before he goes to the cross, he gets the same affirmation, because God's affirmation is so big. If we get it, it'll save us from chasing out 1,000 other affirmations.
My. Wow. Listen, man, I think we can end right there. We done.
Wow. Listen, that speaks to so many of our issues of how to find our voice. I think, you know, when we preach, when we pastor, it should always be for the audience of one. And I think you just highlighted that perfectly to end our podcast. But, you know, on behalf of my brother Kyle and myself, we just again want to just shout you out and say thank you for coming and blessing our Recharge Worship podcast. And for those who are listening, I pray that you were not only blessed, but also motivated and moved to go and find your voice if you have not discovered it. And this whole idea of comparison, listen, it should always be first and foremost to the glory of God. God's gifted us with gifts so that we can give it back to Him and bless others in the process.
Kymone, man, where can people find you one more time?
All right. You can just go to my website, KymoneHinds.com. I'm Kymone Hinds on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any social media platform. First name, last name, you find me there.
And well, listen, we appreciate you coming through, stopping by. And once again, this is Recharge Worship Podcast. Y'all have a blessed week. Yeah.
Expert.
300, this is weird, boy.